It's how old are you? How old are you?
Hello? Parker, can you hear me?
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 36.
Do you support Trump?
I did in his first term. His second term, he has gone against a lot of things that I supported from his first term.
So you don't support him anymore?
I'm not going to say I don't support him, but I'm also not going to say he's not doing a lot of asinine things.
So, like, for example, if, like, the election were held today, Harris versus Trump, or you could choose not to vote, what would you choose to do?
Okay, let me give an example. Like in his first term, he did a lot of good things. Like he gave full funding to historically black colleges to where they would have to negotiate to get funding, and he just gave them full funding. That was dope. That was dope.
He actually reduced the funding they got. Yeah, it was $500 million a year under Obama.
I will agree with that.
Trump reduced it to $255 million a year. Biden increased it to $4 billion a year.
He did reduce funding, but he did give them funding without question. You know, they didn't have to proprietate that. But I mean, but that's neither here nor there. His first term, he did a lot of good. His second term, he's fucking up.
Can you agree that that was a cut in funding?
Yes.
Okay.
But
So then, like, not only was it cut in the short term, but that money isn't adjusted for inflation in the long run.
Well, his second term, he's not doing so hot. He's not doing so hot. But
So what do you like about him that makes you think that he's a preferable candidate to Kamala Harris?
I don't know how to elaborate on that aside from Kamala was pushed through. She wasn't voted on within her party. She wasn't given an actual vote through the Democratic Party. So she was pushed through.
Okay. And that's because she was the vice president. No one decided to run against her. 80% of the Democratic Party was satisfied with her being the nominee. And the vice president steps up when the president steps down.
That is true, but that goes against democracy.
No, it doesn't. You know what goes against democracy? When Donald Trump tried to send false slates of electors to the Electoral College to cast Trump votes when he didn't win to try to steal the election. Incites a violent insurrection at the Capitol, pardons violent rioters who beat police officers, calls them patriots, gets 70% of the Republican Party to believe the election was stolen with no evidence, and calls for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution, and still perpetuates these lies to this day, literally half a decade later.
Well, Parker, I'll give it to you like this. I am neither Democrat nor Republican. I am a constitutionalist.
Then how can you support Trump, who called for the termination of the Constitution?
Well,
And his disrespect to the Constitution so much.
I supported him heavy on his first term. And I liked a lot of things he did in his first term. His second term, he is not the man that I voted for from his first term. But that does not take away from the fact that Kamala was pushed through as the Democratic nominee without a vote. They completely negated democracy and they pushed her through as the candidate. And I followed you for a long time. I have followed you for a long time because I like to see things from both sides of the fence. But you have to agree with me on at least that. They did push her through without a real vote for her to be a candidate. But that's also another thing that it's neither here nor there.
I'm going to be honest with you. I happen to disagree with that analysis Because when we voted for the Biden-Harris ticket and the president steps down, the vice president steps up. I don't think it's dishonest or bad faith for me to acknowledge that we technically already voted for the ticket.
Well, no. Technicality aside, there was no vote to push her for candidacy.
Yeah, that doesn't have to be after the vice president already was nominated through the ticket and the president steps down, because that was already the election.
She wasn't, though. Parker, you are an intelligent man on your side of the fence. She was not voted through to be that candidate. She was placed there. You know that as well as I do.
Okay? Don't act like I'm not intelligent for making this claim. This is completely in alignment with me being intelligent, right? Is making this claim, because that's exactly what happened, okay? The delegates, specifically in the context of the DNC, were the ones who voted. No one decided to run against her. The vice president steps up when the president steps down. We voted for the Biden-Harris ticket, meaning that if the president stepped down, that the vice president would step up.
But he didn't step down. It was the end of his term.
He did. He did step down. Biden stepped down for running for president in 2024.
He said he wasn't going to run again. That's not stepping down. That's
him stepping down for the presidential election run. They won the primary for the presidential election run in 2024. He stepped down from that presidential run, which means she steps up on that very presidential ticket.
But she was placed there. There was no.
Yeah, that's how the vice presidency works, sir. Do you agree that's how the vice presidency works? Like when the president steps down from a ticket, the vice president steps up after that ticket has already been voted in?
The Democratic Party has to take a toll, and they have to vote to put a person on that podium. They did not do that. Kamala Harris was placed there.
Okay. I don't think you're responding to the points I'm making.
What are the points you want me to address?
We already voted for the ticket. The vice president steps up when the president steps down.
That's correct, but he didn't step down. It was the end of his term. And she was the next person that was popular to be the Democratic.
It was not the end of his term when he stepped down from the ticket. He was still in office.
He announced that he was not going to run for a second term.
Which means he's stepping off of the ticket, not ending his term.
That's not stepping down. That's
stepping down from the ticket, sir.
Run for a second term.
Kamala
Harris was placed in that position.
Okay. I don't think I think we're at an impasse. I don't think there's a possible way to get around this.
I mean, it's not a matter of fact of getting around this. That's the fact of the matter. She was placed in that position. There was no Democratic vote in the Democratic Party to put her there. She just was placed. But I mean, I'm not mad at it either way. What happened. But she was placed. She was not voted to be in that position by the Democratic Party. She was not voted to be in that position.
Yeah, if you say it 20 times, do you think that makes it right?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
If you say it 20 times, do you think that makes it right?
It doesn't make it wrong.
It is wrong, and I've already proved it wrong. You're just not responding to the point. You just keep repeating the same point.
Well, no, it's not a matter
so
of...
that's why we can either move on to a new point, or you can try to respond to the points that I've already made in response to the point you made.
You can't argue the fact that she was placed there. She was.
Yes, I can, and I did, and you didn't respond to the argument.
Can you give me in detail how she attained the position to be a candidate for presidency?
How she attained the candidacy for presidency?
How did she obtain the position to be a candidate for presidency?
Yeah, the Biden-Harris ticket was nominated in 2024. Biden decided to step down and endorse her.
He decided to not run again.
After they were already nominated, which means that Harris steps up on that ticket and after Biden stepped down. Okay. Because Biden is now not the one running the ticket.
Process in which you become a nominee of the Republican ticket or the Democratic ticket.
Say that
She
again.
did not follow that process. She was just a candidate that was placed.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm not having this conversation with you anymore. You can choose to move on to a new point, or you can choose to respond to the points I've made. Again, you literally just repeated the very claim that you've repeated like 8 times. So I just don't think that we're moving forward in this conversation. I don't think it's productive. I think you're denying objective reality. I don't think I'm
Well,
wrong here in this
that's what
scenario. I think
happened
it's very
yesterday.
obvious that she stepped up from the ticket that was already elected. If you have an issue with that, then why do you support Trump who tried to undermine our democracy? That literally makes no sense to me.
I supported Trump in his first term,
So
and
at this point, why can't you say that you don't
did
support Trump
vote
or you
for
think
him.
that Trump is the worst
I did
candidate?
vote for him on his second term, but in his second term, he is not the same president that he was in his first term.
Okay, so do you not support him at this point, or
No, absolutely, I do not.
okay, alrighty. Well, thank you very much for coming up on the stream.